Hey everyone, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dorsak. I'm doing creativity, lifestyle, motherhood videos, all that stuff, and I'm so happy that you're here for my March Plan With Me setup, and I'm so excited because it's already March. Time flies, it's crazy, but here we are doing March setup. For this month, I was inspired by all the woodland creatures, their tracks and everything. I thought it's really cool and very graphic, just the way I like it. So I decided to make a theme out of it, and I really love how it turned out. I really hope you like it too. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And yeah, this video is also sponsored by Skillshare. I'm going to talk about them later on in this video. And without further ado, let's dive into it. So I always like to start off by saying that everything that I'm using, all the pens, all the markers, the notebook, everything is going to be linked down in the description box. So if you are curious what I'm using or are looking for something similar yourself and want to know what I'm using, go ahead, check the description box. You can find everything over there, and if I missed anything, you can always write me a comment and I will reply back. So yeah, so starting off with a cover spread, obviously. This month I wanted to go back to what I'm used to and doing something a little bit more graphic, more bold, going back to the black and white and the gold accents that you will see later on. Yeah, I wanted to go back to my basics. I wanted to do something I'm feeling more comfortable with. So I decided to create this rectangle in the middle of the spread and to have the M of the March kind of like going behind it. You'll see once I'll color the M. And I always have people ask me about the font that I'm using, and to be honest, I rarely look for fonts to actually use or copy. I sometimes come across a font that I get inspired by and just get the idea of it. I never really look back and, copy. I just see the vibe, if it's round or, more straight lines, and if it has any like cool feature about it. So that's what I'm looking for, but I don't really look for a specific font and copy it. I'm just going to explain a little bit of the process, how I get to write the letters, and maybe it will help you a little bit to get the idea of how I develop a font style, if it makes any sense. So for this one, I knew I wanted the font to be bold and very simple and quite big, and so I started by dedicating 5 rows by 5 columns, so 5 or 5 boxes, and wrote each letter within this box and basically expanded it to the width that I was interested in. And I always have another line, like invisible line in the middle for the middle lines, basically like the A, the R, the H, they have a middle line. So I always like them to be aligned, whether it's in the bottom, in the middle, in the top, so it will look cohesive. And yeah, that's what makes it kind of like a font style, I would say. That's basically how I came up with this specific font. I'm sure there are lots of fonts that actually look like this because it's pretty simple and pretty standard. And now for the actual theme of this whole setup. So I started off by just googling animals, footprints, tracks, and I came across all the woodland animals, which are my favorite. I don't know why, but I'm always in love with all the animals in the woods for some reason. So I knew I wanted a bear footprint and a fox and a deer and I don't know, something like a rabbit or something a little bit smaller. So I knew I wanted to have a variation in the style and also in the size of the track. And once I've decided on the footprints or tracks that I want to use this spread, whatever you want to call them, I basically drew a line of where the footprints will go, basically where the animal basically walked on, if it makes any sense. So I started the line within the rectangle that I originally had and continued the line outwards. So basically I wanted it to look like as if the animal walked inside and outside of the rectangle. And I started off with the smallest track. I don't know why, I just wanted to start off with the smallest one. And this is the one that goes to the M, and I really love how it turned out. It's so small and cute, and I think it's a rabbit, I'm not entirely sure. And I also really love the track of the deer. It's very different than all the rest. And I also have the big bear ones on the right and the fox kind of in the middle going up. And you know me, I love my contrast, so I decided to color the background of the rectangle in black. I always love to have a dark background. I just feel like it's super cool and it really makes everything pop, and I just love it. It's very graphic, and that's what I decided to do here. So I colored the background. It took me a little bit of time, but it was worth it. I think it looks really good in the end. And yeah, once I was done with that, I colored the tracks outside the rectangle again to make them pop against the white background of the page, and that's basically it. I really love the simplicity and the black and white vibe. It's moody, it's cool, it's simple. I just like that vibe. And of course, if you know me, I love my gold, so I decided to have the M as a gold and not black. Also because the M is partially within the rectangle and outside the rectangle, so I didn't want to cut it like the footprints. I wanted to be like solid color, so I had to use something else instead of black and white, and of course gold comes to the rescue. I love the shine that it gives, and I feel like it's very classic and very simple, but it adds a little bit of shine. I just love it. Once I was done coloring the footprints and the text, I'm pretty much done with the cover spread. I really love the simplicity again. I just love how it turned out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if it was too bold for you, too graphic. I think it looks great, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's chat about it, and yeah, let's move on to the second spread. And so for the second spread, I always like to have my calendar. I need a calendar in the beginning of every setup. It's something that really helped me to visualize the month. I usually have the traditional calendar like I'm doing here, but in the past couple of months I wanted to do something more simple, and I really didn't have patience to actually draw a calendar, and I really missed it. I feel like it helped me a lot to actually visualize it, so I decided to bring it back this month, and I'm so happy I did. I already filled it out with everything that I have this month, all the events, all the appointments that I have. Boring stuff, but I needed to actually visualize it, and traditional calendar I found for myself is the easiest and the most useful. And as far as for the foot tracks, I just added them in the background. If you see, I already sketched everything in advance. I usually do that. Last month I didn't, but for this month I wanted to go back to just sketching everything in advance, because for me, I always like seeing how things laid out before I actually go ahead and coloring it, so I won't regret of the location, and just to see that I love the composition of the page, if it makes any sense. And obviously I needed a contrast, so I took my black marker again and colored the tracks in the background. I really love how simple it looks, and yeah, that's what I did here. I added the days of the month as well. And as far as for the extra space in the bottom of the calendar, I decided to dedicate it to my next section. If you watched my videos before, you know I always like to have a next area where I write everything that's gonna happen in the future, but not too far along the line. So basically, if I have an appointment in the beginning of the next month, or something that I need to prepare for this month that will happen in the future, so that's how I usually use the next section. It's pretty simple, but I find it very helpful for me just to see what's coming next. So that's for that. And again, I decided to add a gold accent, so I decided to have the text this time. And also I realized I didn't use my beloved gray marker this month, so I decided to use it for my next section. Yeah, just to differentiate it from the rest of the calendar and have it like pop in a different way. So that's pretty much it for the calendar spread. Moving on to the third spread. Always my favorite, the mood tracker. It's the most interesting spread every month. And so for this month's mood tracker, I decided to use the Fox's tracks and just have them kind of like big and just playing with the scale, kind of like a wallpaper on the spread, if it makes any sense. And basically I'm going to color each section every day, and for that I made sure I have 31 days to fill in, and so I just number them to make sure I have enough, and I had. So again, thanks for the planning in advance. And to finish the spread off, I decided to have again the big and bold header, and just because everything is so scaled up in the spread, I wanted the header to be suitable and go along with it. So I decided to have the mood really big and bold, the same as the first spread. I added that in black, and obviously it had to have some gold shine, so I added a little spark and shine and move on to the next spread. So for the last spread, I wanted to have a dedicated space for my lists, and for this month I needed 2 lists, one for meal planning and one for my monthly to-do list. I found that sometimes having a monthly to-do list is very useful because some things need to happen throughout a period of time and not in a specific day. So I like to have some sort of like a muster list for the month, and I usually just take a few of the to-do list for each week and then break it down for days. And I love that system. It just helps me be more productive. So that's why I needed this list for. And on the right side, I have my meal planning, which is another kind of planning. If you know, I just gave birth a few weeks ago. I have a 5-week-old son. And for me, planning my meals is something really important because I barely have time to do anything. So everything that I can plan in advance and be ready for in advance will help me a lot to actually get things done and eat healthier. And to be honest, even without being so stressful as I am right now, I always like to have a meal plan just so I wanted to think about it too much later on in the month and have like ideas and everything already set up and scheduled for me. I just prefer that sometimes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. For the accent of this spread, I decided to use the bear track and have it kind of like walk from the bottom to the top of the spread in the middle. Very simple, just to have a separation between the 2 lists. And once I was done with everything, I obviously took my gray marker, which I completely forgot to use throughout the spread. I decided to add a little bit of shading and some lines for the lists, just to again create some sort of contrast to make it easier to fill in and to have it more visually pleasing. So I went back one spread at a time and added some shading, and I think it made the world of a difference. It looks so much cooler, I think anyway, and it's barely noticeable, but it creates more depth and more definition, and I really love how it turned out. And now that I'm finally done with the setup and ready for the flip through, I wanted to talk to you about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people just like ourselves. Explore new skills, deepen existing passion, and get lost in creativity. There are so many interesting classes about art, illustration, photography, and even lifestyle, but in the past few weeks I was very curious about the productivity ones, and I took a few already, but last week I took another great one by Kevin Sisker. This one was called Productivity Today, Managing Attention in the Digital Age. Learn with Todoist, and basically it's talking about being focused on the time that you have to fulfill a task, because at this point I feel like I've already mastered the time management aspect of productivity, but whenever I do have time to sit down and fulfill the task that I need to do at a specific time, I'm not always concentrated and I do have a lot of distractions. That class really taught me how to minimize those distractions and be more focused and more productive at the time that I'm actually working. So it's a great class, I highly recommend, and they have so many other classes as well about cooking and everything that you're curious about. Another thing I really like about Skillshare is that it's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads. And they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it's also less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. So you can check out the link down in the description box if you're interested. The first 1,000 people to use my link down in the description box will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium, and I definitely recommend you trying it out. And yeah, that's about it. Let's move on to the flip through. Thank you very much for watching. I really truly appreciate it. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to see you again in the future. And don't forget to check out the link for Skillshare down in the description box. And that's basically it. See you in my next video. Bye!